The Wizard of Oz could possibly have more interpretations of its story than any other franchise. But surprisingly, despite this, only 3 are actually officially a canon part of the most well-known series. Disney wanted to produce an adaptation of the books back in the 1930s in animated form, but they lost the rights, which led to the famous Judy Garland movie instead. It wasn't until 1954, 15 years later, when rights to more of the books became available and Disney were finally able to buy them. They were going to make a movie called Rainbow Road to Oz, but it was never finished. In 1985, we finally got one. The previously reviewed masterpiece returned to Oz straight out of Marilyn Manson's Wet Dream, but it didn't do well at the box office, despite becoming a cult classic. However, not long after the movie came out, Disney once again lost the rights to the books, but they did eventually end up in public domain. Disney did return to the franchise in 2005 with a Muppets adaptation, because why the hell not? And then Wicked, the stage play based on the Wicked Witch's backstory, inspired producers to work on a story of the origins of the Wizard of Oz himself, because Lord knows we can't get enough of origin stories!
I don't want that!
What attracted the studio to this particular story is how rare it was to see a fairy tale story with a male protagonist. During the years that I spent running Walt Disney Studios, I learned about how hard it was to find a fairy tale with a good, strong male protagonist. You've got your Sleeping Beauties, your Cinderellas and your Alices, but a fairy tale with a male protagonist is very hard to come by. That was easy. Sam Raimi was lined up to direct, and Robert Downey Jr. was approached to star as the Wizard himself, but he turned it down. Johnny Depp was then offered it, and he really wanted to do the job, but was too busy with The Lone Ranger, which is when James Franco took on the part, even training with a magician for the role. However, Disney didn't have the rights to the 1939 movie, so although there are references to the film in this, they had to carefully tiptoe around things to avoid copyright issues. The ruby slippers are never shown or mentioned, and anytime there's something similar to the musical, it's left as vague as possible. It's merely an adaptation of the books and not technically a direct prequel to the Judy Garland movie. It was a huge financial success, but reviews were mixed from fans and critics. Some loving it, but others believing it just lacked the charm of the 1939 film. It was so successful, a sequel was even announced with the entire cast reprising their roles, except Sam Raimi, who declined to direct another one. The producers denied that the new story would involve Dorothy, but it appears to have been canned as nothing has been said in years.
That's what I thought.
I'm not really keen on origin stories, as most of the time they're unnecessary, but this one could actually be kind of interesting. The Wizard was proven to have been a fraud at the end of the Garland movie, so there is stuff to explore there. It's a flimsy setup, but I think there is potential. James Franco, I'm just gonna be honest, he's just playing it as James Franco.
Which battle?
Which battle? Well, there are so many. You've heard of the Battle of Kreplach?
That doesn't mean he's bad, but you can't really separate this from his other performances where he's a sarcastic wise ass. He plays a magician with Zach Braff as his assistant. It's weird because he's portrayed as a con man, but he's not. I mean, magic isn't real, and yet audience members refuse to accept this and freak out when they realize it's a visual illusion.
Rise as your spirit.
I see a wire!
Well, yes! It's a trick! Magic isn't real, guys! I get it, it was set in the early 1900s and people were stupid then. Wait, how could it be set in the early 1900s when Return to Oz was set in 1899 and this takes place before? I must admit, Franco is pretty funny as he's acting as cheesy and goofy as possible performing the tricks. He's like a damn cartoon. He does shut down the morons who think magic is real, and it is a lot of fun. Until it isn't.
Hey, what?
This is the Wizard of Oz! Lighten up! Okay, that was different. The thing is, the crowd egg him on to heal her legs. Yeah, they now believe he's Jesus. Although it is quite clever that Zach Braff is the useless, bumbling moron behind the curtain. A nice throwback to the original.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
He meets his friend Annie, played by Michelle Williams, who is Dorothy's mum, and even tells Franco that she's engaged to John, who would end up being Dorothy's dad. So the Wizard of Oz used to date Dorothy's mum, and then they both just so happened to end up in Oz. and he ends up helping her. What the hell are the chances? How small is Kansas? And how is he dating Dorothy's mum before she's conceived in the early 1900s when Dorothy was going to Oz in 1899?
Wow.
And you can say it's not a direct prequel to those films all you want. It's making references, it's a new Wizard of Oz movie. You have to account for the fact that it's going to be seen as part of the series. All you had to do was say it takes place in like 1890 or something. It's not that hard. The weird thing is that his name is actually Oz. Not that one. So you think the place was named after him, but it's not.
Like no place I've ever seen.
You're in Oz.
His name is Oz, and it just so happens that he ends up in a place called Oz. This is a lot of coincidences to try to swallow in the first few minutes, guys. We also get a backstory of his upbringing, but it's not really developed upon or mentioned anywhere else, so you can skip it.
I don't want to be a good man. I want to be a great one. I want to be Harry Houdini and...
Wasn't Harry Houdini famously an asshole? One wrestling motherfucker even tries to kill him and... Okay, it is quite funny how he uses his lame tricks to escape. He then uses a hot air balloon to get out of there, but gets tornadoed into Oz. Jesus, their tourism must be awful. There has to be a safer way to get there. I must admit, it does have some really dark and disturbing imagery as he begs for his life and asks God for forgiveness. But what is he asking forgiveness for? What did he do wrong? He's not a con man. He's a damn magician. He's doing his job. Are actors con men for not being who they say they are in movies? He also doesn't even react to being flown to a mysterious place. Why is everyone so calm about going to Oz? The thing is, him using lame tricks doesn't quite work once he reaches there. Yeah, he meets a witch called Theodora, played by Mila Kunis, and pretends he's the wizard that they've had some ancient prophecy about. Yeah, of course there's an ancient prophecy. I mean, they stole the look from Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, so why not steal that as well? And all of these cliches.
So naive. Just like your father.
You know, they rip off Snow White with a poisoned apple to turn her evil. I don't care if it was in the books. Let me shit on the movie. And kidnapping the princess for the third act.
What they lack in stamina, the Tinkers make up for in ingenuity. They can build anything.
Can you build a good script? But anyway, he has to convince Mila that he's really the wizard. So he uses his lame tricks to do so, but this is literally a world of magic. How is she impressed by this? Later on, he has to create this massive illusion that he's this magical god to defeat the evil witch, but why are they all weirded out? This is a world with pixies, talking lions, flying fireballs out of witches' hands. They float around in giant bubbles. They have munchkins, tin men, talking scarecrows, and they're impressed by bullshit that isn't really magic. This character doesn't work in Oz.
I hate you.
The movie's comedy is another issue. I realise the books are marketed towards children, but the 39 film was great and its comedy wasn't this bad. The jokes are mostly all dumbed down to the lowest form of humour ever. It's just lame generic slapstick that could be put in any film that doesn't separate itself from anything else. It has no identity.
X counters thusly. Clear so far.
Hell, even when they have dark, creepy moments, they ruin it with lame humor. Made me laugh once.
You alright?
Yes.
I'm okay too.
And even then, Star Wars did the exact same joke and better.
Ray! Finn!
You didn't say my name, sir, but I'm all right.
Because you are the wizard, aren't you?
I can't be a wizard. I mean, I'm just Harry.
I'm also convinced that CGI and special effects are getting worse over time. This movie has some of the worst green screens I have ever seen in a major feature film. These are fucking disgraceful. Not a single one of these look remotely like an actual place. How does a movie from nearly 100 years prior have better effects? Another issue is the motivations. James Franco is supposed to be an asshole, but he's not really until the third act.
And we're prepared to storm the Emerald City.
If you don't keel over on the way there.
He's a normal guy for the most part. He's a magician who is supposed to believe is a prick because he does illusions. He meets Mila Kunis and immediately falls in love.
Am I in heaven?
Anakin, is that you? Then he has a dance scene with her.
But you're the person I belong with.
You've known each other 45 seconds. Then he meets her sister and immediately hits on her.
Who is this
fetching moment.
And then he meets another witch, Glinda, also played by Michelle Williams, and immediately falls in love with her too. And then they're in love. Just because. You could say he's a dick for leaving Mila Kunis, but he just moves on to face the evil witch and forgets about her. It's a bit douchey and the dude is clearly a horny pervert, but this is the main motivation of the movie. Because of this, Mila Kunis turns evil. Yeah, that evil witch from the original, well, it turns out she turns bad because she got rejected by a boy she just met. Aren't you glad they made a 2-hour movie clearing that up? This whole mess is because everyone in this universe is desperate to get laid.
Yes, please.
To be fair, it is a nice touch when she cries and the tears burn her. The side characters are also beyond irritating. They're joined by a talking monkey who is just a B-Tech Puss in Boots, but you'll wish he'd get killed off a few scenes in.
My name is Finley. My master's home was ransacked by the Wicked Witch's baboons.
Oz saves his life, so the monkey is now forever in his debt, and for some reason this means Oz tells him that he's not really the wizard, so he has to keep his secret. But it makes no difference whether or not he tells him, because, well, he doesn't tell anyone else, so this was just pointless. Honestly, it was only inserted so we could have this unfunny gag.
All hail the wizard, the mightiest of mighties, the greatest, most powerful, and most genuine of real and true wizards.
The thing is, you see all these witches and you assume, okay, so Mila Kunis and Michelle Williams are clearly the good witches and she is the evil one. I mean, look at them. But you think, nah, that's too obvious. They're gonna change it up. But no! Michelle Williams is the good witch, Mila Kunis is good but gets manipulated by her sister to turn evil, and she is the evil one. There's no twist, but they act like it is the twist.
You're the wicked one.
You mean to tell me that the evil witch is the evil witch? The basic setup is that he needs to defeat the evil witch to become king, and to do that he has to remove her wand, even though every other witch doesn't need their wand to cast magic, but she does for some reason. And they clearly say that killing is banished in Oz, but yet everyone is clearly trying to help kill the evil witch.
Be gone, witch, before the wizard makes mush of you!
So fuck knows what's going on. Despite the bad green screens though, my question is how the hell the monkey looks more real than Yoda in the prequels? But the city is in ruins and that looks completely shit, so you can't win them all. Then they come across a broken porcelain doll whose legs are broken. Get it? He uses glue to fix her because earlier he couldn't fix the girl's legs. This is so stupid. But don't worry, she's annoying too!
Off of there!
Please let me go.
Get off! No, get off of there! No dolls on the witch hunt!
These characters fucking suck, man.
So how are you gonna kill the Wicked Witch?
Show her Spider-Man 3. He ends up in this giant bubble because apparently we're now in Bikini Bottom, and they're about to enter a magic wall where non-magical entities aren't able to pass, and he somehow still gets through. There's literally no explanation for this. I mean, Glinda even reveals that she knows he's not the wizard.
I might not actually be a wizard.
Yes, I know.
But she doesn't explain how he made it through. The Munchkins are also painfully annoying, and James Franco stops acting for a second and plays the part of the film's audience.
And so it was a man named Oz would magically appear.
All right, enough.
So sound the battle call, the wicked witch will fall. And so it is the wondrous winds will come to save us all.
Munchkin, stop!
Despite the motivation, seriously, why doesn't she just murder Oz and Glinda right now? Mila Kunis does a great job as the Wicked Witch.
The yellow brick road will be red with the blood of every tinker, farmer, and munchkin in your kingdom.
Shut up, Meg.
And is it bad that Oz still would? She also only rides a broom away because Oz made a passing comment about it earlier.
Where's your broom?
What would I do with a broom?
Fly.
This movie is filling in all the important blanks.
There aren't any real wizards. Although, there is one. Thomas Alva Edison.
The wizard of stealing ideas from Tesla, maybe. But it's okay, we'll also steal lines from Batman.
I know I'm not the wizard that you were expecting. But I might just be the wizard that you need.
It's kind of hard to get behind the heroes when Mila Kunis actually hasn't done anything wrong, really. Sure, she's overreacting like hell, but she's not exactly in the wrong, that's all I'm saying.
For when we do believe, anything is possible!
Except real magic. That's the problem. That's why you're in this mess. Why doesn't she just set fire to the damn forest right now instead of kidnapping Glinda? God, I'm starting to think this Wicked Witch isn't really that wicked. The master plan is so contrived. Oz pretends to walk out on everyone, supposedly. He clearly ditches his friends and even loads the hot air balloon with treasure, but doesn't tell them that he's faking his own death. There is no reason to keep them out of the loop here. He uses a projector, so I guess I can understand them being weirded out by this because it's technology, and it is a pretty nice scene, to be fair. It is charming and just fun to see him kick all kinds of ass. It leads to a witch off, which also looks pretty good. And it does become dark with some disturbing makeup and imagery. This is pretty damn decent. They even managed to set up the events of the original film quite nicely, so the ending isn't all bad.
Oscar Diggs died so that the Wizard of Oz could live. When those witches come back, and they will come back, we're going to need everyone to believe.
Your secret's safe with us.
Except why do they have to pretend that he's dead? Well, he's just never gonna leave the castle? Just tell everyone you resurrected yourself. They'll believe anything at this point.
I grant you something you are in need of most. Something that where I come from can turn the saddest day into a happy one.
Vodka.
You'll be astounded by what you find behind the curtain.
The movie is awful. It has some nice moments towards the end, so I guess the third act saves it a bit, but the characters' motivations make no sense, the comedy is painfully bad, and the effects are atrocious. It's another movie that had a lot of potential, but just botched delivery. It's a loose excuse to make a film, but you could have done a lot with it. It's a whole film about a villain who's mad that she didn't get dicked. Honestly, skip this movie and you'll be better off. It adds next to nothing.